Welcome to this edition of the Million Dollar Mastermind podcast. This is where we pick the brains of high achievers from all walks of life and get their hard-earned, real-world insights on winning. I'm your host, Larry Weidel. So you're traveling alone on all of these adventures.
Mostly.
What's up with, the life of an entrepreneur is lonely. And because there's so many things that you do, if you have a spouse, you have to be more stable and everything. But if you have, usually that's why even when you have a partner or inner circle, there's just a few people that you make all the decisions with and wind up talking to, because there's so many things you have to come up with yourself. But it does help to have someone around you that you, as a sounding board. Were you staying in touch with people over the internet, over the phone, or whatever, as you went down on this adventure, or were you just incommunicado?
Yeah, I mean, the Africa trip was in 2010, so that was before the iPhone, that was before WhatsApp. So there was only communication via email, and very randomly, very rarely, maybe calls via Skype. I started traveling in 2000, and there the normal thing was like going to the internet cafe, sitting on an uncomfortable chair and sending an email to mom and dad saying, "I'm okay, don't worry." After 2012, with the introduction of the iPhone and services like WhatsApp, I was way more in touch, especially via voice notes. And yeah, I'm in touch with my friends who are mainly in Berlin, and my family.
Yeah. And so you get over there to Zendesk, and how soon do you get the idea, I'm going to start my own company?
So that was because I was a pre-sales technical enabler. That's what was my role. So I was more like a salesperson who was kind of salesy, and not too techy, but also techy. So they would bring me in on the meetings with the high-profile customers to support the salespeople with technical answers. And at some point, we actually closed a deal with a rather big customer who was buying 100 agents per month, which was, a good amount of money coming in for Zendesk every month. But this customer also needed a data migration. This customer needed to switch from the system they were using to Zendesk.
Right.
And we, as part of the deal, promised that we're going to do it. Now, we didn't do that. We needed an external partner, a third partner, and I was responsible to find that partner. And that partner quoted us $25,000, which was, it kind of made us angry, because that was just way too much for a very simple thing. So I said, hey, let me try to do it. I know some developing, because I snuck into a conference for the free fish and learned some of that. And I did it. I did it in a week. So I saved Zendesk $25K. And at that point, there was this seed in my mind saying, well, next time I have to do this migration, I can do it for half of the money. And I actually don't only have to press a button, because I already developed the algorithm for the source system, And then that came together with a friend of mine from school who we were all worried about. He was hospitalized. He had a tinnitus. He was close to suicide. And I brought him to the Amazonas because I speak Spanish. He paid my flight, and I took all my vacations that I had. And I said, hey, if you want to, then let's go to the jungle. I know some shamans there. Maybe that helps. And so we went into the Peruvian Amazonas for a whole month. And there I thought, because I was working 80 hours a week, and I loved it. I loved working 80 hours a week. It was so exciting to be there in London after 1 year of Africa and not, being productive in the traditional sense.
Right.
But I thought if I keep on like that, I will end up like that, burnt out. So there in the Amazonas, I sent an email to my boss saying I need a meeting. And then I came up with a PowerPoint where it's like, this is me at Zendesk. This is me happy. And there was like me with a guitar on the picture, and me going to TED conferences, and me doing all sorts of things. And I said, I cannot combine this with 80 hours of work per week. And so he said, well, why don't you do your own thing? And we send you customers, and we send you people that need data migrations. And that's how it started. And then since 2014, I had my own company, or 2013, actually. So 9 years. For 9 years, I had my own company. I had employees and was delivering data migrations and other things like implementations and and designs for CRM related products.
Well, you bring up a point there. Before that time, you said you had done a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
And if you don't have, there's different levels or styles of traveling. And when
Right.
you're young and crazy, you can sleep on the ground and eat bread and scrounge around. But after 5, 10, 15 years of that, that's not quite as romantic and
Yeah.
fun as
Yeah.
it was when you're young and dumb and the first time you've been, and
Yeah.
at some point the idea should come to you, like it'd be awfully nice for me to able to afford to do this from a time and money standpoint. And that seems like that was the point, the realization you came to when you were working in London and said, I'm loving it, but I don't want to be doing this the rest of my life. You could see the time coming where you wouldn't be loving it. And you said, how can I make a transition and get to where I can make this pay off for me and do all of these other things that I'm really excited long term? Because the thing I bring this out, Fabian, is people have it in their mind that it's bad to want nice things. Like you want a Ferrari, bad. You want a nice home, bad, because, that's just materialistic. That's selfish. You want to travel the world, that's selfish. That, you should be thinking of other people. But why it's good is the fact that if you follow the things that really excite you, it turns on an internal engine, internal motivation, and you wind up being like insanely productive because it allows you to go after things that really light your fire. And what I found is I found a lot of people changed their life because they made up their mind. They wanted a Ferrari. They wanted something wild. And they wanted to live in a certain country or make a big certain move. And that's going to require a big level of success and cash. And they jump into their work with a passion and become incredibly productive. And then when they're able to go get the Ferrari or whatever, it's like, it doesn't matter as much anymore, because they've changed their life. They've got other things they're more excited about. But it was that initial dream that caused them to break out of the mundane pattern of just going to work. And you made that break early in leaving Zendesk. That's what I'm hearing. Is that somewhere close to right?
Yes. I mean, Zendesk itself was like a big adventure, right? And it only lasted a year. So that's not too bad. And it's not like I actually asked if I can sleep in the office. We were 4 guys in our team. We were just working all the time. We ate in front of the screen. The only time we were not working was when we were sleeping. I didn't go out into bars. I didn't feel I needed it. It was so exciting. It was so much learning. And in 1 year, I learned like 10 years of university. So that itself was an adventure. That was exactly what I wanted to do, but not in the long run, right? And so after that, I just had my own company. I made way more money and I invested way less time. And then I just thought, what can I do in terms of optimizing the processes, especially repetitive processes, to bring down the time I need to make that kind of money, so I free up a lot of other time that I can use for whatever I want to do. And I didn't stop traveling. The whole last 10 years where I had my own company, I was everywhere. From the Caribbean to Africa to all sorts of places around the world. And I was working from there, from coffee shops and from co-working spaces and from my Land Rover. I have a Land Rover you can sleep in. I was driving the whole South America with 2 of my colleagues while working from the road. So we made it an adventure all the time. But yeah, the business itself was just a means to an end to get the money in to finance whatever I wanted to do. And for me, the definition of success here is that as long as I can fly everywhere I want, I can spend everything I want, I can invite anyone I want for dinner, and I save some money at the same time, I don't need more.
Yeah.
And I had that for the last 10 years.
Yeah. You said you've got some notes here. For a 7-month period, you managed your company out of a Land Rover Defender And while filming a web series for Wired called The Startup Diaries, and where you and a bunch of other founders traveled 17,000 kilometers through 10 countries, did not miss a single conference call.
One, actually.
During which time got press conference from several Latin America's largest TV, newspaper, radio stations, as well as interviews over a dozen leading digital nomad publications. You delivered a TED Talk in Bogota, collaborated with Wired, produced an 8-part exclusive on running a nomad company. All of this is within 7 months, by the way, out of a Land Rover, on the run. It just shows what you can do. And interviewed a dozen of the most interesting entrepreneurs across that continent and managed a global team of producers, editors. See, that's the kind of thing that reminds me. I've always done conference calls, at least one conference call to kick off the week. And I remember when we were starting a marketing organization in 2003 in London, and the organization was in the United States, but I had the cell phone, and I could remember we were out at Windsor Castle, and the only place I could get a signal was standing on a bench at the railroad station at Windsor Castle. And I'm standing up there on the bench, leaning against the wall. All the trains are coming and going, and I'm doing the conference call in the United States. Nobody knew the difference.
Been there, man. I had plenty of those. The best story is when I was stuck in the sand with a Land Rover Defender in South Peru, and we had 2 hours to make it to an internet place with a stable Wi-Fi interconnection. We had no internet. We were stuck in the desert, literally. We didn't know how to get the car out, and we were supposed to be on a go-live call where the client would start using the app we had developed for them. And so we dug out the car, we used a mechanical winch to get out, and we just raced through the desert and made it into some wooden shack where there's like kids playing Counter-Strike and listening to reggaeton. And we're doing the call, and it's actually over, and there's chicken flying into the wooden cyber coffee shack. And the guys on the other end, we're like, we have connection issues. We can't turn our camera on. But the guys on the other end is an online casino in Las Vegas, and then in suits with a microphone on the middle of the table, and it worked, And as you say, it doesn't make a difference. And it was 2015, and it was so amazing because this is the first time when this is possible, where we have the technology everywhere around the world, where we can log into conference calls, which is basically the biggest bandwidth you need in business. And you can do it from the desert in Peru, and nobody cares if you're wearing flip-flops and Bermudas and haven't showered for 2 days, like we in that situation. As long as the result is great, nobody cares anymore. At least not if it's innovative new companies with young founders.
Thanks for listening to the Million Dollar Mastermind. If you felt there were any valuable takeaways from this episode, please take a minute and leave us a 5-star review. Your feedback is important and really helps us get the word out to a wider audience. Remember, we have a valuable webinar that is absolutely free. Register for it right now at weidelonwinning.com. Thanks for listening.